So what are the most effective marketing tools? Now remember, what we do is we give them a range of options and we tell them to rank based from 1 most effective, 12 least effective. In terms of getting a 1 score, meaning they thought this was the most important thing, the top 3 ones in terms of the most people giving them a 1 were branding, firm website, and entertaining. In 2012, the top vote getters were firm website, entertaining, client surveys, and seminars. But to me, I never just want to go on that. So what I do is I look at who got between 1 and 3. Because to me, that's, if you're scoring something on a scale of 1 to 12 and you're scoring something between 1 and 3, that gives a better idea of your level of enthusiasm for it. Now, when you combine those numbers, in other words, how many people scored them a 1, a 2, or 3, the picture changes dramatically. So I looked cumulatively at what marketing tools they thought were the most effective. And when you do that, seminars led the pack with 60.7% giving a score between 1 and 3. Website was second with 53.5%. Client surveys were third with 40.7%. I'm going to get client surveys in a minute. And entertaining was fourth with 37%. Branding, which was the most popular, and so that's an interesting thing. And again, if anyone has any feedback when I'm done, I'd love to hear this. So branding was viewed as the most popular 1 choice, but in terms of this calculation, looking cumulatively, it was only fifth, with only 32.2% giving a score between 1 and 3. Now, just by comparison, when I did the similar exercise, and I think I've only done it the last 2 years like this. In the past, I would just go by whatever was 1, 2, whoever gave the most 1 votes. When I did this same exercise in 2012, the order was websites, entertaining, seminars, and then client surveys. This is another area where we talked about, okay, getting rid of underperforming partners. Another area where, PA sort of is an anomaly compared to the rest of the country, at least in terms of what people say you should be doing. Client surveys receive the most scores of 12, meaning it's the least effective tool. 14.8% said it was the least effective tool. And then 3 other tools all finished roughly second in terms of least effective at 11.1%, and that was entertaining, charitable involvement, and advertising. Now, a note on the client surveys. I mean, this is something I find, really interesting. 70% of our respondents to the survey said they don't use them regularly. And the number's only going up, at least in terms of when we do our survey. As you can see, by comparison, 2012, 56.3% said they didn't use them regularly. And in 2011, 64.5% said they didn't use them regularly. Every consultant you talk to, and even GCs, their biggest complaints sometimes is, other than complaints about billing or, billing being unpredictable or multiple bills or bills that aren't very well defined, so they have difficulty explaining them to accounting. One of the biggest complaints we hear from GCs about law firms is, not being responsive, not understanding their needs, not understanding their business, not understanding their demands. Well, how is she going to find that out? You can do it by interaction, and maybe Pennsylvania firms, maybe a lot of them have enough of a good, relationship with their clients that they can just get on the horn and say, hey, look, what do you like, what don't you like? Okay. But it's surveys. That's the way you would do it. And so when I was doing my forecast article, I was talking about what do firms really need to do, and to a person, they would say, you can never be close enough to your clients. You can never talk enough with them. You can never know enough about their business, how they're operating, what their pressures are. And to me, this is a tool in the arsenal that's missing for Pennsylvania firms. And that's how firms lose business, because there's needs that aren't being met, there's lack of responsiveness, there's irritation with a particular contact partner. Now, I imagine, and that in some cases, and I've heard this anecdotally in the past, that part of the reason why firms don't do client surveys is, the relationship partners don't want them, Look, I can tell you from a media business, like doing focus groups, it sucks. I mean, it's never good. I mean, it never is. And I've met with a number of you over the years, and I've met with your firms, and those of you who've been in those meetings, you know what I say. I always come in and I say, don't tell me what we do well, tell us what we don't do well, because that's the only way I'm going to improve. So I think you just got to bite the bullet, And even a focus group for us, we'll do them, and a lot of times, people are. It's your most disgruntled reader who comes in, but even the most disgruntled, myopic viewed reader sometimes will give you a nugget of information you can work off of. And also, it's also perception. And that's the other thing I think that gets lost in all this, and that surveys can help to, is it's not always about the reality, it's about the perception. And if your client has a particular perception, it doesn't matter what the reality is. Perception becomes reality.